When we talk about the no contact rule, the first thing most people ask is, does it actually work? But that question already points to a deeper misunderstanding, because the no contact rule isn't a trick, and it's not some psychological game you play to manipulate someone into missing you. It's not about counting the days until they reach out or waiting anxiously by your phone for that message to pop up. It's about setting a boundary. See, when someone walks out of your life, whether through a breakup, ghosting, or emotional withdrawal, it's incredibly tempting to hold on, to reach out, to fix, to explain yourself one more time, to send just one last text that says, "I miss you," or "Can we talk?" We do it because we want closure, because we think maybe if we just say the right thing, they'll finally understand what we meant. But let's be honest, deep down, we're hoping that this message will be the one that changes their mind. But here's the truth. Every time you reach out to someone who's already shown they're not choosing you, you're reinforcing their belief that they don't have to choose you. You're telling them, you can walk away and I'll still be here, waiting. That's not romantic, that's not noble, that's a slow, painful erosion of your self-respect. No contact isn't about making them feel your absence in some calculated way. It's about saying, I'm no longer available to be in a situation where I'm undervalued. It's a decision rooted in self-worth. It's recognizing that chasing someone who isn't willing to match your energy is not love, it's self-abandonment. And I get it. This is hard, especially if the connection was deep, if the chemistry was real, if the history runs long. Walking away from someone you still care about feels like betraying your heart. But ask yourself this, what are you actually walking away from? Is it the person, or is it the illusion that they were going to become someone who met your needs? There's a big difference. When you go no contact, you're not being cold, you're not punishing them. You're simply stepping out of the dynamic that's been draining you. You're stopping the cycle where you keep showing up for someone who isn't showing up for you. Let's be clear about one thing. People don't change when they feel safe to keep doing the same thing. They change when the consequences of their actions force them to. When someone knows they can disappear for a week and still get a, "Hey, just wondering how you're doing" message, why would they change? Why would they fight for you when they know you're not even fighting for yourself? You teach people how to treat you by what you tolerate. If someone pulls away and you chase them, they learn that distance gets them attention. If they ghost you and you let them back in with a smile and no standards, they learn they can disappear whenever they feel like it and still have access to your heart. That's why no contact is so powerful. It's the moment you stop teaching someone how to hurt you and start teaching yourself how to protect your peace. And it's not easy. There will be days you want to reach out. Nights when loneliness convinces you that even a half-hearted connection is better than silence. But that's not love. That's fear. Fear of being alone. Fear of letting go of the familiar. Fear that maybe no one else will understand you like they did. But here's the thing. You don't get the love you deserve by clinging to the love that's convenient. You get it by making room for something better. And you can't make room for that when you're still emotionally available to someone who's already walked out. No contact is clarity. It's the fog clearing. It's the first deep breath after holding it for too long. It's giving yourself the space to remember who you were before this relationship taught you to question your worth. And yes, maybe they'll notice the silence. Maybe they'll come back. But that's not the goal. The goal is you, your healing, your growth, your standard. Letting go doesn't mean you didn't care. It means you care about yourself enough to stop bleeding for someone who wasn't even holding a bandage. You're not cutting them off because you hate them. You're walking away because you finally remembered to love yourself. And sometimes the most loving thing you can say to someone is nothing at all. No contact isn't a punishment for them. It's a commitment to you. You know what's interesting about space? It's the one thing we're often afraid to give when someone pulls away from us, but it's also the exact thing that creates clarity. When someone starts to lose interest or they become distant, our natural instinct is to close the gap. We want to fix it, to talk it out, to clarify, to make sure they know we still care. We feel this urgency to do something. But here's what most people don't realize. That reaction, while completely human, often makes things worse. When someone takes a step back from you and you immediately chase, you're not giving them the space to feel anything about the distance. You're filling that space with your presence, with your messages, with your attention. And in doing so, you take away their ability to miss you. You don't give them the chance to reflect, to wonder, to feel your absence. And more importantly, you rob yourself of the same clarity, because instead of sitting in the silence and learning something about how you actually feel when this person is no longer present, you get busy trying to restore the connection, no matter how broken it already is. Think about it. How many times have you felt rejected or confused in a situation, and rather than taking a step back to process, you leaned in? You sent a text, you tried to clarify, you explained how you didn't understand their behavior. And maybe you got a response, maybe. They gave you a breadcrumb that made you feel a little better in the moment. But did anything actually change? Or did you just delay the inevitable realization that something wasn't right? Space creates clarity because it forces both people to feel. And let me tell you, feeling is what people avoid most when they're unsure about someone. We think if we talk enough, explain enough, show enough effort, we'll create certainty. But real certainty, the kind that comes from emotional truth, only shows up in silence. Only when the noise dies down can someone really ask themselves, do I actually want this person in my life? And you, on your side of the silence, get to ask, am I holding on to the idea of them or the reality? See, the truth is, we sometimes keep people in our lives not because they deserve to be there, but because we're afraid of the void they'll leave. That silence, that gap, feels uncomfortable, but discomfort is where growth begins. That's where your standards start to rise. That's where you start to remember what it feels like to not live in limbo. And you can't get to that place unless you allow the stillness in. I'm not saying space always leads to getting back together. That's not the point. The point is, it gives the truth room to breathe. If someone is going to miss you, let it happen in the silence. Not through your reminders, not through forced conversations or check-ins. Let it come from them. Let it be their decision. Because if someone doesn't move toward you on their own, they were never really with you to begin with. And sometimes that space confirms everything you are too afraid to admit. That they don't reach out, that they don't ask how you are, that they don't care enough to close the distance. And yes, that hurts. It's painful to face. But clarity, even when it's painful, is a gift. Because once you know where someone really stands, you can stop negotiating your worth. You are not meant to chase someone into realizing your value. You are meant to show up as your full self. And if they don't meet you there, you keep walking. No contact gives you the breathing room to remember who you are. And for them, it gives the opportunity to recognize what life looks like without you. And if they come back, it should never be because you begged. It should be because they genuinely saw what they were missing when you stepped away. But I'll say this again, the most important clarity is not theirs, it's yours. Because when you stop trying to manage someone else's emotions, you get to finally feel your own. You get to see clearly whether this relationship was giving you peace or just a distraction from loneliness. Whether they actually treated you with the respect and consistency you need, or if you were constantly justifying their mixed signals. That kind of truth doesn't show up in conversation. It shows up in the silence. So if someone's pulled away, and you're tempted to go after them, ask yourself, what if I just stopped? What if I allowed the space to speak for me? You'd be surprised what answers start to rise when you stop chasing and start listening to your gut, to the way they respond, to absence, and to what you actually deserve. Because if they don't feel your absence, they never value your presence. You can't heal in the same space you were hurt. Let that settle for a second. Because we often think that resolution, that peace, comes from going back to the person who broke us, trying to have one more conversation, seeking one more piece of closure. But what we don't realize is every time we reach out for that closure, we're just opening a wound that hasn't had the time or space to heal. And then we wonder why we still feel stuck, why we feel confused, why we're not moving on. The truth is, real healing doesn't happen in chaos. It doesn't happen in the emotional roller coaster of late night messages, breadcrumbed hope, or that constant anticipation of, will they call? Will they come back? That space is too crowded with noise. It's not peaceful, it's painful. And the problem is, we keep showing up to the same dynamic, expecting a different result. We keep trying to fix a broken connection by staying connected, but some bridges need to burn so you can finally stop walking back over them. The no contact rule isn't about bitterness. It's not about punishing someone. It's about saying, I need a clean space to get clear. I need to step out of the storm to even begin to understand how it affected me, because you can't assess the damage when you're still in the middle of the fight. You can't rediscover your self-worth when you're still waiting for someone to validate it. And sometimes people say, but what if they come back? What if they change? And I get that. That's the hook. That's the emotional trap. We romanticize their potential. We hang on to the highlight reel of good moments while ignoring the bigger picture, the patterns, the way we were left hanging, the inconsistency, the gut feelings we kept suppressing. The hope that they'll change keeps us tied to a version of the relationship that never truly existed, at least not in the way we wanted it to. But here's what happens when you go no contact. You get a moment to breathe. You're no longer reacting to them. You're not checking your phone 20 times a day. You're not rewriting texts or deciphering theirs like it's some kind of emotional Morse code. You begin to hear your own voice again. You get to ask yourself, what do I want? What do I deserve? Not what they're willing to give, but what you actually want. This space gives you perspective, and perspective is power. You start to see the relationship more objectively, without the fog of constant emotional entanglement. You see the truth in their actions, not just their words. You recognize what you were settling for. You realize that love isn't meant to feel like confusion. It's not meant to be a guessing game. You begin to feel your own strength rising, not because they change, but because you change the pattern. And yes, it can feel brutal at first. The silence is deafening. You feel the urge to reach out, to just check in, to see if they miss you. And that's normal, because connection is a habit. It's not just emotional, it's neurological. You've trained your brain to associate that person with comfort, even if the reality was far from comforting. But every time you resist that urge to reach out, you're rewiring something deeper. You're showing yourself that you can stand on your own, that you can make decisions that are hard but healthy. You also start to reclaim your energy. You stop leaking your power into a dynamic that was keeping you small. You begin to invest that energy into your own growth, your own peace, your own passions. And slowly, the balance shifts. You're no longer the one waiting. You're building, you're rising. And you might get that message one day that, hey, I've been thinking about you, that I miss you. And in that moment, you'll realize you're no longer the same person who would drop everything just to reply. Because by then, the silence will have spoken. It will have told you everything you needed to know, not about them, but about you. You healed not because they came back. You healed because you walked away. If someone truly values you, They will feel the distance and want to close it. But that desire has to come from them, not because you nudged them with a just checking in message. Let me tell you something that most people get wrong about attraction and relationships. They think they can remind someone to value them. They think if they just send the right message, or show how much they care, or prove how loyal they are, that the other person will suddenly wake up and realize, oh my God, what am I doing? This person is amazing. But that's not how people realize value. That's not how connection is rebuilt. People don't recognize your worth when you chase them. They recognize your worth when they feel your absence. When you step back and go quiet, you're not punishing them. You're just giving them the clearest possible feedback. You're not available to be half loved. You're not going to hang around waiting to be chosen. And the right person, the person who truly sees your value, doesn't need 10 reminders or long paragraphs to know what you meant to them. They need space. They need a moment of silence without the comfort of your consistent presence to actually ask themselves, what did I lose? Now, I know this is hard. Everything in you wants to reach out. You want to check in, see if they're okay, remind them that you're still here. Because you care, and you think that caring should count for something. But sometimes, caring looks like silence. Sometimes, loving someone means giving them the chance to miss you. Because if they don't miss you when you're gone, they never truly appreciated you when you were there. No contact isn't about creating curiosity. It's not about making them wonder, why haven't they texted? That's not the point. The point is, you step back to see what exists without your energy holding things together. You've probably been doing a lot of the emotional heavy lifting. You've been the glue. And the moment you remove that glue, you get to see, was this connection ever mutual, or was I carrying it? If the person reaches out, that tells you something important. But even more important is how they reach out. Do they come back with clarity, with remorse, with intention? Or do they just drop a, hey, how have you been? Like you're someone they can casually check in with after they've disappeared. See, when someone misses you genuinely, they don't come back in half measures. They don't breadcrumb. They don't test the waters. They come back with energy, with purpose, with effort. And if they don't, if they stay silent, that silence is your answer. That silence is the clearest confirmation that you were holding on to someone who wasn't reaching back. And that's hard. It hurts, but it also sets you free. Because once you stop feeding the connection with your effort, you get to see what's real. You stop living in potential and start living in truth. Now listen, I know what you're thinking, but what if they think I don't care? Trust me, they know you care. You've shown it in 1,000 ways. You've been present, available, giving. The issue was never your love. It was their ability to receive it, appreciate it, and reciprocate it. And if someone can't do that, then chasing them doesn't fix it. It just delays the inevitable heartbreak. You have to let people show you who they are in your absence. Anyone can act like they're interested when you're giving them attention. The real test is what they do when you're not around. That's when their real level of investment shows. That's when you find out if they miss the feeling of you or the benefits of having you. Because those are two very different things. And you don't want someone who just misses your company when they're lonely, or misses your validation when their ego needs a boost. You want someone who misses you. The whole you. The one with a heart, with standards, with the courage to walk away from things that don't nourish you. That's the kind of person who deserves a second chance. Letting them come to you isn't about ego. It's not about making them chase. It's about truth. If they don't choose you when you're not reminding them, they were never choosing you at all. They were choosing convenience. You want connection, not convenience. You want effort, not excuses. So here's what I'll leave you with. If someone is meant to be in your life, you won't have to keep knocking on their door. They'll open it themselves. They'll feel your absence and realize what they have. And if they don't, you just got the gift of clarity. And that's something people waste years trying to find. Silence reveals what words often cover up. You see, people often ask me, is the no contact rule just a strategy to make someone miss me? And the truth is, if that's all you think it is, you've completely missed the point. No contact is not a trick. It's not some reverse psychology stunt to magically pull someone back into your life. It's so much deeper than that. It's about choosing yourself in a moment when everything in you wants to chase after someone else. The hardest part about walking away, about going no contact, is that it feels like you're losing. It feels like silence means giving up. And let's be honest, it hurts. The absence is loud. You start replaying everything, every laugh, every message, every touch. And you want to reach out just to feel something again, just to remind them, and maybe yourself, that there was something real there. But in that craving, there's a truth most people ignore. The real power of no contact is not in making them miss you. It's in getting yourself back. Because the moment you stop reaching out, you give yourself the space to feel the full weight of what you were doing. You stop living in reaction to them. You stop checking your phone 100 times a day. You stop letting your mood depend on whether or not they reply. And it's in that stillness, in that space, that you start to realize how much of yourself you were giving away just to keep them close. We lose ourselves in the pursuit of connection all the time. It's subtle. At first, you're just compromising. You're being understanding. You're giving the benefit of the doubt. But over time, you start silencing your needs. You start hiding parts of yourself to keep the peace. You become a version of you that's easy to love, easy to handle, easy to leave. And that's the version you walk away from in no contact. You're not just cutting them off. You're cutting off the part of yourself that kept settling. You're breaking the pattern that kept you hooked on hope. You're walking away from the illusion that if you just did more, gave more, waited longer, they'd finally see your worth. But let me tell you something. Someone who doesn't see your worth now, as you are, won't see it just because you keep showing up for them. No contact gives you the space to rebuild your identity outside of them. And that is crucial. Because when you're in it, when you're emotionally entangled, your sense of self gets blurry. You start measuring your value by their attention. You start feeling not enough because they're not choosing you. And every day you stay in contact, every time you break that silence, you reinforce the story that your worth is up to them. But the silence, that's where the shift happens. That's where you reclaim the narrative. That's where you remember what it's like to stand alone and still feel complete. And no, it's not easy. Healing isn't linear. Some days you'll feel strong and empowered, and other days you'll ache. You'll wonder if they ever cared, if they ever think about you, if they've already moved on. But every time you choose not to reach out, every time you sit with that discomfort instead of reacting to it, you're proving to yourself that you are capable of emotional self-control. You're showing yourself that you don't need closure from them to move forward. You are the closure. Your decision is the closure. There's this belief that letting go means losing something precious. But often, what you're really letting go of is the pain you've been dressing up as love. You're letting go of the anxiety, the second guessing, the inconsistency. And in return, you get peace. You get clarity. You get you. This is not about never loving them. It's not about pretending they didn't mean something to you. It's about loving yourself more. It's about choosing to stop bleeding for someone who never noticed you were cut. You're not walking away because you stopped caring. You're walking away because you finally started. Because when you choose no contact, you're not hoping they'll chase you. You're not sitting by the phone waiting for the apology. You're building a life so full, so rich, that their absence no longer echoes through every corner of your day. And here's the paradox. It's often when you no longer need them to come back that they want to. But by then you'll be asking a different question. Not, do they want me, but do they deserve me? Because now you've remembered who you are. And that's the most powerful place you can ever be.